Hi everyone. Um, I thought I would do a video for anyone who is brand new to Italy and has to do some paperwork or has to get some new contracts and they've never done it before. They don't really know what to expect. If you've even been here for a year, everything that I could possibly tell you, I'm sure that you already know, just from having done it yourself. But this is for like a total newbie. Um, all right, so anytime you go anywhere that's service related, or especially like government or legal stuff, just expect to wait for a really long time, and then you won't be surprised if you're at the post office and you've been sitting waiting for your number for over 30 minutes. Italians, I don't really understand why Italians get so annoyed about this. Because getting annoyed usually doesn't work very much, as you know, things are not going to change because you're annoyed. And they should know by now that if they're going to a certain post office, that they're going to be waiting for 30 to 45 minutes to get to a person. So I would suggest taking several things to entertain yourself while you're sitting and waiting. And you get to know your town really quickly. You get to know where you're going to have to be waiting and where you can go almost directly to a person. So, but just be on the safe side the first time you go anywhere and take stuff to entertain yourself. Um, let's see. Oh, also, while you're waiting, keep an eye out though if you're entertaining yourself, because depending on where you're at, I think this happens more in the South, at least where we did. This happened more often, and it doesn't happen as often here. But people are notorious for cutting, um, and they'll just act like what they have to do is more important, or that it's going to be like 2 seconds, and they don't want to have to wait, or they're in a hurry or something. Now, for some reason, people don't get that upset about this. They sort of feel I've heard people say like, oh well, there's the smart one, and you just think she just cut in front of you, and you know, like, aren't you going to do anything about that? But you know, they just think, oh, that's the way we should all be doing it or something. Um, so anyways, watch out. But if somebody does, if you're standing, if you know, like for example, a lot of times you'll get a number or something. If you know that your number's coming and you act really anxious and you stand up and you're kind of close to the window and you're like, is it me? Is it me? And you have this kind of look on your face. Normally somebody won't just jump right in front of you, or if they do, they'll be like, oh, sorry, I can see that it's you next. So they'll let you go. Um, which is the only thing, I mean, otherwise, you could just straight up say, excuse me, I'm this number, but then they'll try to give you a spiel as to why they're cutting in front of you. Anyway, so if you look desperate, I found that does work quite a decent amount. But it only happens, if you happen to be the next one before the person's cutting. If the person's cutting, well. And it really does depend on the person who's in charge, the service person, because sometimes they won't let people cut, and sometimes they will. Um, so whatever. All right. If you do not know this yet, you will need every single piece. Well, okay, if you're going to get a contract, just a general contract, and you have to think about this before you go, because otherwise you're going to be making 5 trips to places just to get something really simple done. If you have like a telephone contract, if you're going to get a telephone, you are going to need what is called your codice fiscale. And you should get that as soon as you come to the country. You don't need anything for that, like other than a passport. I think I got it like the first day I was here. It was not hard at all. We didn't even speak Italian. We just were like, hey, we need dot dot dot, and the woman just gave it to us. But depending on the place that you go, again, this can be a super long wait. And they'll tell you, oh, just go get some coffee, go out for breakfast or something, because it's going to be a while. So it depends on where you go. It depends on the town and how busy they are. But anyways, that's the first thing you need to get, because you need it for everything. You cannot get anything done in this country without that code. It's kind of like a social security number or oh, I forgot what the number is in, what's it called in Great Britain? You know, the little card thing that you have to have. It's like anyways, I don't remember what it's called. Um, but they use it way more and they pass it around way more, and there's not this like worry that anybody's going to steal your identity or anything. So just give it out to basically everybody. Um, let's see. So you need that for everything. I would just, because the thing is that you're supposed to get a card for it and a piece of paper. We never got the card, so we just have the piece of paper. But a lot of people will just accept you writing it down. So as long as you just have it written or something, that will sometimes suffice. But if you're going to anything legal or anything where you have to fill out a contract, I really, really, really suggest just taking the card or the piece of paper with you because they're going to want to make a copy. Um, and actually, they might want you to make copies. So that's another thing. If you're doing anything legal, you will need everything, like all your paperwork in the kitchen sink. Um, and the first time you go anywhere, just expect that they are going to tell you you need three other things that you didn't bring, because that always happens. And not just that, you will talk to one person and get the list of things that you are supposed to bring, and then come back the next time with everything and the three things that you were supposed to bring, and you'll get a different person, and they will tell you that you need something else. And this happens all the time, especially if you're getting like a permesso di soggiorno, which is how you stay here basically, or a carta di soggiorno, which is what I have. Um, if you're getting any, oh, sorry, that's like it's just like a permit. I don't really know. Like you don't have to have a visa. You have to get this thing. It's like an internal Italian thing. Um, so, anyways, and you have to go to a police station to get that, and that can be a huge pain in the butt. And it took, I think it took me like over a year to get it. It was ridiculous. But then we moved, and it was a big hullabaloo, and uh, anyways, so, but they really did need all this paperwork that I didn't even have. And I had to get everything in order. It took ages. So, anyways, take everything with you the first time you go and just expect it to be a long wait. Expect that they're going to tell you you need things you don't have. And just, don't, I would say don't get very frustrated about it because I don't think getting frustrated really works. If you're desperate or upset, then they will help you. If you're in real trouble, like when I was in this new place, we had moved here, and they said they were telling me that I was going to have to go back to Sulmona, which is like an 8 to 10 hour train ride, and I think, and I was gonna have to go back there and tell these people to cancel my request for this permit to live here because, like, I don't know, they couldn't do it for me or something. And so I had to get them to clear me out of the system, and I would have to go back there physically to get them to do that. And I was like standing in the police station, like, are you kidding me? I can't, like take a trip in the middle of my week just to go down and ask them to take me out of the system. And I think the thing is, I looked really desperate. And I hate to say it, but men get better treatment from women, and women get better treatment from men. But I think that's probably proven, anyways. Um, so uh, if you just happen to get lucky and the person is like really helpful, if you look desperate and act desperate, they will help you. If you act like if you act angry, I don't know that they will help you. But if you get desperate and if you get overwhelmed by you're just like, I don't know what to do, I'm so lost. Um, they are way more likely to help you out. Anyways, I looked desperate and confused and like I didn't really understand, and I was like, really, I have to go back there. And and the guy was like, eventually he did it for me. He called them and he sorted it out. Um, but it's all these things are really overwhelming, especially if you don't speak good Italian. That's another thing. Before you do anything, um, if you do not speak Italian, don't go by yourself, especially if you're new here. Do not go by yourself. If you're in a city, they'll speak English, fine. But if you're in a small town, you have to find somebody to go with you who speaks Italian, because you're just not going to make it through it. They're gonna tell you all these things, and they're going to be names for things for paperwork, and you don't even know what they are. Even if you knew the Italian, you still wouldn't know what they are because you're like, well, what's that? Okay, so take somebody with you. Don't go by yourself, because it's already really frustrating and annoying, and people are not very helpful, anyways. If you add on top of that, like trying to figure out what they're actually saying, it's just going to be really difficult. So um, take somebody with you. Is there anything I want to say about that? Take your paperwork. I mean, it's ridiculous. I've been here for like 3 years. And the other day I forgot to take a codice fiscale to get a phone. It was so stupid. But I'm like, oh, right, of course. You have to bring everything. What was I thinking? Um, anyways, so just keep it in mind. Also, you get this a lot, even in service areas. People will say all the time, oh, it's so complicated. Oh, it's just all these laws and all this paperwork and da 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 da. And I'm not really sure what the right response is to that because Italians are always complaining about their system being too complicated, but they're also not doing anything about it because they presumably think that there is nothing they could possibly do to fix it, that it's just broken and it's going to be broken forever. So anyways, as I say, I have not come up with the correct response to this, but the last time it happened, I was in a bank trying to open a bank account, and I really did think maybe I should just be like, well, if it's too complicated for you, I'll just go find a bank where they don't find it so complicated and they can help me without having a minor breakdown. But actually, I do find that generally that came from an older woman. And if you get a woman who's older 50 or older than 50 in a service position, I tend to find they are not as bubbly and helpful and trying to make things easier for you. Younger people and actually the whole older generation is a little bit like that. Younger people tend to be a bit more like fast, a bit more helpful, a bit more service oriented, etc. And I'm not sure why that is. And it's not that obviously it's not the case always. You can get lovely older people fine. But I do have to say that I'm always like trying to get certain people in certain, you get to know the people at your places in town, so you'll get to know who are the better ones. But I tend to think that the uh, younger people are a lot easier to deal with, and they try to get things done quickly, and they're really helpful and stuff. So, anyways, so those are just a few things to keep in mind if you are headed off to get your phone or your permits or whatever. Don't take anything too seriously. Just think, okay, this is going to take me ages to get done. And then when it takes you 3 months, it won't be so bad. Bye.